right. Hi guys, it's 11:30 a.m. So I'm going to call this technology committee to order for Tuesday, August 15. Can we please have a roll call? Of course. Berlin.
Here.
Cahill. Here. Carrier.
Here.
Eckhoff.
Here.
Galassi. Here. Guston. Here. Henry.
Here.
Kazmarek.
Here.
Vendrick. Rutledge. Here. White.
Here.
You. Here. All right, great. Thank you everybody for attending today's meeting. You have either before you or about to be before you a quick, I just wanted to mention that there was a letter from one of our IT interns. The intern was had this internship as a high schooler and then as an incoming college freshman, and he literally talks about how this internship changed his life. So I think it's really amazing. I hope that you'll take a minute to just read through it. And I just want to thank Anthony McPherson and everybody at the IT department for making this opportunity available for the student and making it such an amazing one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So just to add, Shanita Thompson, who's our operations manager, actually manages the two interns that we have who've been fantastic. I've been in internships in my life and I have managed and dealt with internships. I really despise the ones where they are treated as clerical staff and they don't get a chance to actually do what they're there to intern, to do as part of the internship. We made sure that they learned. So they actually became part of the team, worked with the PC techs. They took them under their wings. They trained them, that let them actually do the repairs and do the work. So they know what it means to work in IT, right? So they'll go back and see. Matt and Pushkar both were very good. They understood the technology. They latched on to it quickly. They're both very good. But we were really taken aback by Matt's exit letter. We didn't ask him to send it. All of a sudden we received it and we were impressed and just thankful that we were able to provide him an experience that he can use in college or beyond if he chooses. But he said that he changed his actual major because of the experience. So.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you, Anthony. So I've been advised that there are no public comments. So I'm going to move on to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for 2693? Approval of minutes for the technology committee from Tuesday, August 1, 2023. I do have a motion from member Guston. Do I have a second?
Oh, I motion to. But
oh, okay. Second by member Rutledge. Thank you. Any discussion with regard to these minutes? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And we are going to move now to procurement requisitions for item TEP 006023. Can I get a motion for recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Intellius Inc. for an upgrade to the Windows servers that the Infor Lawson applications run on from Windows 2012 to Windows 2019 for IT for a contract total amount not to exceed $72,000. I did get a motion for member Rutledge. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second from member Cahill. Any discussion with regard to this item? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. For item TEP 006123, can I please get a motion for recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Infor Inc. for the purchase of Micro Focus COBOL licensing to be compatible with upgraded Windows Server 2019 for IT for a contract total amount not to exceed $112,709.53. I did hear a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by member Galassi. Thank you for that. Any discussion?
May I add,
Yes.
Chair? So I wanted to explain to the committee that items 6A, 6B are connected. So we learned that Microsoft is sunsetting their support of Windows Server, which is the operating system for what we use on quite a few of our servers. Windows Server 12. That affects then the software that we have running on top of it, which is Infor software. So we are forced to upgrade our servers to the latest one of the latest versions, 2019. That then affects some of the software that's on the old servers, the COBOL software, which is only licensed to run on Windows Server 2012. So we had to buy an upgrade for that application. So This will not be a problem once we're off of N4, but that will be a couple of years because of finance. We plan to do the RFP next year, and it'll take 2 or 3 years, but we had to do it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion passes. And lastly, looking for a motion for TEP 006223, recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order issued to Cara Company, Inc. for the management of the county GPS CORS sites to include operating, monitoring, and upgrading of software and firmware for IT GIS division, the period of September 1, 2023 through August 31, 2024 for a contract total of
So
$39,500.
moved. Second.
Thank you, Member Cahill and Member Glassy. Motion and second. Any discussion with regard to this item?
I want to add to this one too, so
Yes.
that people understand what it is. Essentially, these core sites, there are 6 spread out throughout the entire county. We have one here, and I only have a small picture of it. It looks like a future thing, but it basically collects data from GPS satellites, right? It pulls it down for us, makes it available to our GS team, but also surveyors throughout DuPage County, and others who access that information. So when things change in landscaping, it captures that and it updates it so they have actually the latest and greatest information across the county.
And we've been using Cara for a long time, yes.
We have, yeah. So
Any other discussion or questions about this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. So now we're going to be moving on to our budget presentation.
okay, thank you,
Take it
Madam
away,
Chair.
Anthony.
Give me just 2 seconds. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to present our the IT department's FY 2024 budget request. I'm going to start out with a high-level overview of our budget request and our department, so you have a better sense of how the budget is directly connected to our structure. So I'm going to start on the top left-hand side with overall staff. In 2023, we had 64 full positions. And FY 2024, we're moving to 65, and that is directly due to the probation department moving their tech PC position over. In 2023, they lost their technical resource. They asked us to come in and support them for an interim period. Yes, we did a pretty decent job, so they're now asking us to just take on the position. The support model is a redundant model. Before they had one person, now they have multiple people. They have a primary who supports probation, a backup, and then the entire team is trained to support them if one of those 2 individuals isn't available. So that's why we're moving to 65 with 1 additional resource. We currently have 5 vacancies that we are actively trying to fill. And then we want to just highlight the 2 internships, not part of our staffing numbers, but we think they're important and just wanted to highlight them. All right, so if you take a look at the actual org chart from applications through operations, that is what's called the IT department or general IT. So applications, web services, infrastructure, and operations consist of that unit. We are asking for $8.5 million for FY24, which is a small reduction, but we looked hard at our contracts and reduced where we could, but we come in slightly under at $239,000 for that particular budget. The second budget that we manage is common, and I'll talk about this more later, but DuPage and PRMS are used interchangeably. They're slightly different, but kind of the same. I know that's confusing. One's a system, the actual application. One is the bigger umbrella, which includes policies and procedures and things of that nature. So sometimes you'll see DuPage, sometimes you'll see PRMS. We are actually working with finance and the budget department to clean that up so that everything's under one umbrella. makes it clear moving forward. DuPage's, that budget is actually paid for by police agencies, and that's why it's separated out, and I'll explain that more in detail. The budget request this year is $1.9 million, roughly $249,000 less than last year. And the third unit is our GIS team, Tom Ricker and 11 others who basically support the entire county and others with GIS. That budget is essentially neutral, right? So it's $113 difference. All right, so here's a comparison between 2023 and 2024, so you have a better idea of the shifts and changes. Just shows in our general fund, the IT department's fund, we're down that 239, 539, roughly 3%. GS is flat, and DuPage, we're down 249,000, roughly 11.7% from last year. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it more. The DuPage's budget has changed, and I'll highlight it when I get to that one slide. So a little more about the IT budget. So wanted you all to kind of see where we are, the main budget lines, and what we've requested in those lines, and the changes. So starting with professional services, you see a big 37.7% increase. That was mainly consulting services that we thought that we needed, related to the .gov move. So we're moving again from .org to .gov. We've never done it before, so we didn't think we had the internal expertise or the capacity to do it. Our network team has stepped up, and they have not needed the consultants to come in and provide support. So it's saving us money, and we thought it would carry over. So we're saving quite a bit from that. Telecommunications, very small piece, but I want to highlight that one. With telecom, we're much higher, but this budget it's always pretty consistent. It should be a lot higher, but Joe Balaga, our telecom manager, does a very good job of going around finding old analog lines, and he converts those to digital, which keeps our budget pretty low. So if we kept those analog lines, it actually would be higher because there's an increase in services there. So I just wanted to highlight that he does a great job of doing that. He's shutting down analogs. Pretty soon, we'll just have a handful of them. We have to have those. They're important for certain things. But if we can convert as much as possible to digital, we'll save a lot of money in telecom calls, especially internal calls back and forth. Equipment and supplies, that one, there's a 42% decrease. The main reason for the decrease is switching and wireless access equipment that we asked for in FY 2023. We won't need in 2024 because we have replaced that equipment. So we replace the switching equipment every 8 to 10 years. So you won't see this one probably for another 7 or 8 years, that amount. It's pretty consistent. The wireless access points we have replaced as needed, but we'll probably replace those in a more frequent basis than the 8 to 10 years. But that's the big change there. Repair and maintenance for us, some of those support contracts are just up slightly. So that's why you see the 20% increase for repair and maintenance. And then miscellaneous, so that you're aware of it, it consists of a few different things. So the mainframe leasing is included in that. Some of our travel costs included in that. Professional dues and memberships that we're part of are all captured in miscellaneous. They were so small, it didn't make sense to have them as individual lines, so we just combined them. So I just want you to be aware of that. And for the most part, there's no major change there, but wanted you to be aware of it. And the reason why we list out all of those different account numbers, because they're for multiple different things, but not very large amounts. And then the personnel item is slightly up by 15%. That's mainly due to merit increases that weren't originally budgeted for. It wasn't part of our budget last year that we added in, and it has it affects us this year as well, in 2024 as well. So merit, COLAs, and then we also pay our techs for overtime as well. So that's all captured in there, and that's where the increase is. So we actually have an increase in support requests more than we have before, which I think is a good thing. More departments and elected officials are asking for support, so we're providing more support to those departments. So that's why we need a little more overtime and for after-hour support. There are some departments that actually, like the care center, who do still need support afterwards. So we provide some support to those organizations. All right, and then a slight increase in our software. And I think there were just two. Yep, we moved OpenGov, which is the new budgeting software. And we also, in our last tech meeting, I went over BitSite, which is the cybersecurity software that scans the websites. We added those two applications. So that makes up the 111,000 or 4.8% of our software budget. I just always want to show the change over time. This is a little bit misleading. So if you look at bottom right highlights, I put in there the budget for FY20. So we were closer to 7.2. The pandemic affected everyone. We didn't have travel. We didn't have a lot of things. So our budgets were slightly lower. And then we also paid for things out of ARPA. So our budget was slightly lower in those 2 years, but it was closer to 7.2. So there was an increase from that 7.2 to 8.2, and FY 2023 plus additional support and personnel that I requested. We were at 49 positions, and now we're at 65 to just provide better support. But in FY 2024, we have a slight decrease of that 3%. So just wanted to show over time how our budget is progressing. All right. The next one is just the variance breakdowns. I've actually kind of already explained them. So I won't spend a lot of time, but these are the big buckets. These are the big things that change. The personnel going up due to COLAs, merit increase, 2 job reclassifications, increase in on-call support. Oh, sorry. And then commodities change, and that was basically the network switches and the wireless access points that brought down the commodities piece, which includes equipment. And then contractual services, which I mentioned before, is the .gov piece. So these are the big variances, so that you're aware of. They're smaller ones that when you review the detailed spreadsheet, if you have any questions, let me know. But they're smaller changes. These are the big changes in our budget. All right, now I'm going to move on to GIS. So because it is a separate budget, just going to do a quick highlight of GIS and then do this afterwards. But as you can see, there's no major change, slight $113 change. For those of you who don't know, GIS is self-funded. There is a fee of $20 that is associated with records the recorder's office collects. That fee basically covers the budget costs. Sometimes the fee and the budget are directly aligned, sometimes they're off. Unfortunately, in 2023, we have noticed a decline in those fees. Those fees are directly related to real estate and real estate transactions. They're down, as you all know. So we're currently watching the budget, but there's a decrease. If we're short this year through, we believe, 2025, we're fine because we actually have an overage. So if the budget is lower than the fees we collect, that's put into a contingency fund, a bucket. That bucket has about 2.4 million in it right now, right? So we are fine for maybe a year or two, but it really depends on how long this major change happens. So we're keeping a close eye on it. We're watching it. Tom Ricker, our GIS manager, went to a conference with other GIS managers throughout the state of Illinois, and it's consistent in every county. So those fees are down, so revenue's down, so it's having a direct impact on their budget. So anyway, so I wanted you to be aware of that, but that's where we are now. Everything's pretty much consistent from FY 2023 to 2024. All right, here are the big variance changes. They also were impacted by COLAs, merit increases, and job reclassifications. And then, sorry, this thing is sensitive. My hands keep going over the board. Let me keep it away. And then contractual services, there was specifically one software package that we no longer need. So we're cutting it out. Right? So our existing Esri application kind of covers the functionality that we were using in another application. So Tom and I agreed that we don't need it. So we cut it out of the budget. So that's a software package that we used to have in the past. All right, so on to DuPage Integrated Justice System, commonly known as DuJus, or sometimes referred to as RMS. Want to make sure people are clear on the difference between the two. So DuJus was created some years ago, but it consists of individuals from really the justice areas that help us create policies, procedures, give direction to us and both the CAD side and the RMS side. So that's what DuJus is. So sometimes when you hear DuJus, it's mainly the system that we're talking about. And we had a budget line that was directly connected to that. When you hear PRMS or RMS, police records management, it's the application. And so again, they're used interchangeably quite a bit, but they are different. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So 2023, we were at 2.1 million overall in DuJus. We're down to 1.9 million in 2024. I can't take a lot of credit for this one. I give the credit to the budget and finance departments. So for FY 2024, they are consolidating a separate DuJus budget line with our PRMS budget line. DuJus mainly housed the Hexagon software, and everything else was managed by my team under PRMS. They decided to consolidate the two, which I think makes a lot of difference. So you may see in previous budget presentations, I was presenting the budget at 600 and I think 30,000. That was really for staff and some other things. Now we've taken the staff and the software, combined the two. In doing so, it looks like we found some redundancy. And the redundancy is the 249,000 that we identified. So yeah, so smart thing for us to do. There's been some other things where I think I skipped over it early, but printing used to be covered by the IT department because we used to own a print shop that the entire county used. That was years ago. After print shop went away, we still kept printing. Now printing's been pushed out to the departments who use it. So we still have a small budget for printing to help out generally, but the departments and elected official offices that do a lot of printing, that printing budget is actually in their individual budgets, which makes more sense. So some of the things have changed. But DuJus slight increase, and then the budget line, if you look at the note at the bottom, so we got rid of the 1,1115 budget line and combined it with the PRMS operating fund of 4,5830. So it's all in one budget. All right, and that concludes my budget presentation.
Thank you.
So,
I'd like to see reductions.
I know.
I love that you found redundancies to bring up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Member Gustin.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do you have like a pie chart of what percentage is employee expense and what percentage is like hard equipment?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
What is actually licensed, programs that you guys use? So kind of separating that out.
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can
Okay.
pull something together for that. Personnel, of course, we can separate out what software and what's personnel, what's equipment.
And
We
what's
can do all those
equipment.
big. We can do all those big
Yeah.
buckets.
Yeah.
When we get to the software breakdown, we are actually doing an inventory right now. Software inventory that may take a couple of months to finish, but once we have that information, we can absolutely break out exactly not only what the IT department's paying for software, but what those other agencies and elected officials are paying for that.
Thank you.
I think that's what you're looking
Yeah,
for. Yeah.
exactly.
So just give us a couple of months, and once we collect all of the software data, we're going to break it down, analyze it, and we'll have that kind of.
And I anticipate the personnel end of it will be probably the highest budget
It is,
for the
it's a,
overall fund, which,
it
is
is.
gonna
It's
be
a
employees
big
and their
chunk of the
benefits.
budget. It's absolutely true.
Thank you, Anthony, for the great budget presentation. After analyzing quite a few budgets thus far from other departments and elected officials, I just want to say I really appreciate the fact that our budget is decreased as opposed to many other budgets that we've seen thus far. And I just think it's a credit to, your efficiency and use of resources. So thanks again.
No problem.
All right, so with regard to old business, I just want to quickly mention that I did send out an email right before the technology committee meeting with regard to a courtesy notice on IT procurement requests. If you notice that in our agendas, we don't have a lot of informational items, despite the fact that there are a lot of technology procurement requests that are happening in all different departments. Even today during human services, I saw a JPS informational item and I was like, why isn't this happening here? And so that courtesy notice was emailed today, and I know that this was an issue that Member Guston, had mentioned more than once. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Any other old business? Yes.
Thank you. So now that we've put into practice the time change for our technology committee, I guess my question is, why didn't we go to 11 instead of 11:30?
So I believe that when we were scheduling these meetings, that generally speaking at 11 o'clock, we usually had this home and CDC meetings. Those meetings have been canceled lately. And so it may be something that we want to discuss about having an 11 o'clock meeting unless there is a CDC home meeting. So
Yeah,
that's
because
something that-
it seems to be a gap for everybody.
Yes, no, that's right. That's right.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
Thank you. Any other old business? All right, any new business? All right. Objection, we're adjourned.